remember sitting in the movie theater in 2008, watching Disney's WALL-E, thinking, this could actually happen. People floating in chairs with screens in front of their faces, so dependent on technology that they can't even walk, so isolated that they don't even look each other in the eye or have a conversation. I walked out thinking, this is a cautionary tale, one that I knew would come true. March of 2020 arrived, and we were all so isolated from one another that fast forward 2 years later, when we emerged after the pandemic, we were scared to get close. We had forgotten how to be together. Just yesterday, I passed a Starbucks with 15 teenagers sitting together on their phones, screens in their faces, each of them physically present, yet totally absent from one another. WALL-E's plot, it's all around us. And if we're gonna get our future from movies, I have to say, I wish it had been the flying cars from Back to the Future, not these isolated humans from WALL-E. Yet, AI, augmented intelligence, has become a game changer for so many of us, helping doctors find cancer earlier in mammograms, enabling teachers to personalize lesson plans, allowing researchers to find medical breakthroughs. We don't start a meeting at TBA without someone asking, is AI taking the notes? We've all heard that AI is coming from our jobs. It won't, if we can navigate it. In fact, it can help us do our jobs smarter. Besides, I'm not worried. I've seen AI try to schedule a meeting. It suggested we meet at 25 o'clock on the 32nd of February. Technology has freed up our time to do amazing things. But if we spend our new free time doom scrolling, we miss the point entirely. The question isn't whether AI will change how we work, learn, and connect. It already has. The question is, will we engage with these changes intentionally, or will we sleepwalk into the future? The shofar calls us to wake up from our spiritual slumber. But what if we're already sleepwalking through life? Screens in our faces, isolated like the humans in WALL-E. In fact, I'm gonna write a brand new vidui, a confession for Yom Kippur related to technology use. Please forgive me for doom scrolling Instagram. On the holiest days of the year, I have to ask, what does this mean for our souls? What does this mean for Judaism? The answer, I believe, lies in a simple Hebrew word that echoes through our tradition. Hineni, here I am. As we just read in Genesis chapter 22, verse 1, God called to Abraham, and Abraham said, Hineni, here I am. Not, I'll be right there, or let me check my calendar. But Hineni, an immediate, embodied presence in response to the sacred call. It's what Moses said at the burning bush, what Isaiah said when he heard the voice of God asking, whom shall I send? Hineni. Just as Abraham had to choose between comfort and divine call, we must choose between passive consumption and active engagement. The first choice we face is whether to embrace technology's genuine benefits or reject them out of fear. Judaism has always adapted tools for sacred purposes, from the printing press that spread Jewish learning to Zoom that connected us all during the pandemic. With the recent leap in technology, we can leverage AI to create a digital legacy, an ethical will that captures our gifts and wisdom for our children's children. Museums are now using AI to preserve Holocaust survivors' testimonies. I remember being a teenager and hearing, don't miss out on hearing a survivor speak because soon we're not going to have any left. Imagine the future generations now that will get to converse with survivors of the Holocaust. Marketing legend Guy Kowalski has created a GPT version of himself. This way, his great-great-grandchildren can ask him questions long after he's gone. There's something achingly beautiful about this technology. When someone dies, we say in Judaism, may their memory be a blessing. With this profound gift, we can preserve not just the deceased's values and actions, but their voice and wisdom for future generations. This is our first Hineni moment. Here I am, embracing technology that serves human flourishing. But saying Hineni to technology doesn't mean ignoring its dangers. Intentional engagement requires that we take responsibility for how these tools are governed and deployed. The real danger isn't that AI will become conscious and turn against us. There's no scientific evidence that we're facing human destruction, like in my favorite show, Battlestar Galactica, with their Cylons, or with Terminator's Skynet. The real danger is what MIT Technology senior AI editor Karen Howe calls the new AI empires. A handful of companies like ChatGPT's OpenAI who are consolidating unprecedented economic and political power. As Howe warns in her PBS investigation, when people feel they don't have a voice to determine their own future, democracy dies. We are witnessing the largest consolidation of economic and political power in history, concentrated in the hands of a few tech corporations who get to decide humanity's technological future. This is a moral issue. Just as our ancestors could not remain silent in the face of injustice, we cannot remain passive while a few corporations shape our children's technological futures. This is our second Hineni moment. Here I am, taking the responsibility for how technology is governed. Take the story of the Tower of Babel. It teaches us about the dangers of technological hubris without wisdom. The builders had great power, but they lacked moral framework to use it properly. Like them, we have rushed into the age of AI without fully considering the consequences. The question is not whether we can build these technologies. Clearly, we can. The question is, should we, and with what safeguards and values? Even as we embrace technology's gifts and address its dangers, we must remember what can never be digitized: the divine breath that makes us human. AI fundamentally cannot access the neshama, the breath of life that distinguishes all of us from data. In Genesis, we read, God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. AI has data, humans divine breath. Souls are formed through relationship, through presence, through the mystery of consciousness meeting consciousness. This is what Rosh Hashanah offers, a chance to reconnect with our souls, to choose presence over technology, to say Hineni to the sacred call of genuine engagement. Jewish tradition insists that mitzvot, the good deeds we do, require intention. Kavanah in Hebrew, intention of the heart. If someone is to listen to the shofar on Rosh Hashanah without having in the mind to fulfill the mitzvah, they've not fulfilled their obligation. A robot might blow a perfect tekiah, but it cannot summon the spiritual awakening that the sound is meant to evoke from a human being. As the Talmud teaches, Rachamana libi ba. This is wisdom, the merciful one wants the heart. AI cannot simulate the form. AI can simulate the form, but never the intention, never the trembling recognition of standing before the infinite. As clergy, I have the honor of being with people at the most crucial moments of the life cycle, when human presence matters most. When I stand underneath the chuppah and I hear the groom's heart beating fast. When I feel the trembling energy of a B'nai Mitzvah child moments before their service. Or sit quietly beside a hospital bed. In these sacred spaces, I'm able to offer something that cannot be programmed, the calming presence of one soul recognizing another. This is the work that artificial intelligence will never replace because it cannot witness a soul in real time. ChatGPT needs the perfect prompt to avoid generic responses. The night before Rosh Hashanah, I visited a congregant drowning in their grief. Through tears, they asked, "How do you do it? How do you know what to say?" I took their hand and said, "I don't know what to say. I listen first. I watch the way their body carries the burden. I notice when their breathing changes. I hear the silence between their words. I use their cues to comfort them." Judaism requires us to be present, and we can experience all of these wonderful benefits. We're supposed to study in pairs in Judaism. It's called chevruta, paired learning. And there's this excitement that emerges with two minds wrestling with text next to each other. When we brainstorm ideas with another person, there's honest pushback. AI is trained to be agreeable. It rarely offers the feedback we need to grow unless we ask it for that feedback. This is what AI cannot replicate. The choice to show up, Hineni, here I am, present, vulnerable, accountable to others. One of our members, Helen, recently lost her beloved husband, Ralph. For years, illness had kept them homebound, but Zoom allowed them to remain connected to our community. What a blessing technology was for them during those difficult years. But she didn't know many people face to face, and as Shiva approached, she worried aloud, "Will I ever have a minion?" Our community rallied. Our caring committee made calls, and members showed up to be present with Helen. On the Shabbat of that week, when she came to temple in person for the first time in years, she stopped the service, tears flowing, to thank this community. In her moment of deepest need, what she required was the irreplaceable gift of 10 human bodies and souls choosing to be present. This is our third Hineni moment. Here I am, choosing embodied present for what matters most. Berosh Hashanah Yikatevun. On Rosh Hashanah, it is written, what stories are we writing about our choices with technology? Will we write ourselves as passive consumers or active participants in shaping our future? The future is here, and Judaism reminds us that Judaism is relevant. It is essential. In a culture of augmented intelligence, we insist on authentic relationship. In this age of data, we choose soul. As we enter 5786, I call you to intentional engagement. Hineni, to technology's gifts. Use AI to plan programs and make flyers. I do. Then show up to experience community together. Use it to help research your child's Torah portion. But then you learn to write it yourself using that information. Write your own blessing. Hineni, to technology's dangers, educate yourself about AI's democratic implications. Support candidates who prioritize transparency over profits. Don't let a few corporations decide our future. And Hineni, to embodied presence. Show up to Shabbat because your presence matters. Join a committee not because we need volunteers, though we do, but because the work of community requires human hands and human hearts. When I ask people what drains them the most, they name abstractions, politicians, social media posts. When I ask them what they love, they name people, family members, friends. This year, choose the people, choose presence, choose community. As we stand at the threshold of this new year, I'm asking you to write to me, to write to our leadership after this service with the subject line, "Count me in. Here I am," ready to engage intentionally with this community as we write this next chapter together. Please flood my inbox with your emails. Let's not drift through digital life. Say Hineni to what matters. Who here is ready to say Hineni with me? May we all be inscribed for a year of presence, of irreplaceable human connection. Shana Tova.